Welcome to Talking Good with Kurt and Cornelius. This is episode 2. And I'm here today with my friend G. And one of the things we try to do here on Talking Good is just kind of elevate stories, good stories that are happening. And so that's what we want to do. And G, it would be nothing more than a blessing for us to kind of share our stories. You've heard me say this before, the idea that good has a terrible marketing department.
Yep.
So our hope is that we can kind of get some of these good stories out there. So why don't we just start with this, G? Why don't you kind of share with our friends out there just kind of a little bit about how our story got going, and then I'll ask you some other stuff.
Yeah. I met Corn when I was back in high school, which is really funny to think that now I'm 37, I'm married with 3 kids, and I've known Corn before all of that got started. Corn was the camp speaker at Windy Gap, a Young Life camp, when I went up there in high school. And this was actually my second time going. My first time going, I was sent home from camp. And I should have been sent home, in all fairness. I would have sent me home as well. But this time I made it through the whole week. Camp, and Corn was the speaker. And I met the Lord that week at camp. And from there, man, our relationship just bloomed where, my area director at the time recognized I needed a male role model, and it was you. And Corn would do crazy stuff. Like, to me, it was crazy. Now I realize it was just part of being a really good mentor and loving on somebody well. But he would come up to Greensboro, North Carolina, where I'm from, and we would go get dinner and just talk, or we would read a book together over the phone. And so our relationship just developed out of that and a love for sports. And so we just connected between sports and Jesus, and it just grew.
Yeah.
And once I graduated from college, when I was trying to decide where I wanted to go, the reason that Atlanta was at the top of my list is because you lived here. And so a lot of my story and where I'm in life revolves around this relationship.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, y'all, well, thank you, G. G, the term I would use when I think about G's dope, man. I mean, he's a phenomenal, brilliant person. And for those of us that are kind of in the space of development and whatnot, you kind of have a good sense. It's almost like scouting, talent, being able to see talent early on is a great thing. And one of the things I recognized early on about G, he's brilliant and he has a great heart. And so it's always fun to kind of get to know him. And so, G, man, one of the things I'd love for people to know is if you could kind of give them a little backstory on who you are and as it relates to kind of maybe your family. And even I'd love for them to hear kind of how that has informed kind of how you go about family today. Yeah.
I am definitely my grandmother's son, which is a weird way to say it. Carrie Lou is 5 foot nothing. And by 5 foot nothing, I mean she's 5 feet even. And I'm 6'6", every bit of it. But my grandmother was my person. She loved me well, and she showed me what it meant to care for people well. Everything I ever did, she showed up. Every play, which I did theater, I did ballet, long story, interesting life. But every basketball game, every baseball game, every event, my grandmother was always there. And I just loved the way that she loved me and the way that she loved everybody. And so she set the example for me of what it's supposed to be like to care for people. And it's about presence. It's about showing up. It's not about having the answer to everything. It's not about trying to fix it. It's about being there when something goes wrong or when life gets hard. And she was always there. And as I kind of grew up and went through some stuff, and I put myself in situations like everybody that's growing up, like everyone that's learning.
Yeah.
I put myself in tough situations that I had to grow through. She was always there. And so I've just always wanted to be that person for people who was that consistent presence. It's a ministry of presence where you want to show up in somebody's life and you don't want to show up with an agenda. You don't want to show up as if I have all the answers. You want to show up and love on people. And so that just developed in me as like, man, your purpose, your point, why you're there isn't to be like, hey man, follow me, I did it all right. It's to say, no, hey, I did it wrong too.
Yeah.
Let's get through it. And so now as a husband who's definitely not perfect, I mean, I'm close to it as a husband. Like,
Wish the answer was here.
As husbands go, it would be hard pressed to find a better one.
Yeah.
But I guess you could. but I don't go into it thinking I know it all.
Yeah.
And as a father, I definitely know that I don't know it all because, I have a 7-year-old and then 3-year-old twins. And man, I'm not underwater, but it's right here, right? And so it's just learning how to love people well from the point of view of saying, that's my whole purpose. It's just to be in your life and love you well. And that's been really great to get to be that person for a lot of people. And it's calls for relationships to just be deeper than I ever thought they would be. And I think the truth is I never knew if I'd be good at being that person.
Yeah.
I think it came natural from my grandmother.
Yeah.
Because she's just so sweet and so loving. And, there's 40 grandchildren.
Yeah.
For me, it was, is this who I am? Or am I trying to be somebody else? And then I realized, especially once I got married, like, no, I'm this guy.
Yeah, you are.
And I love that I get to be this person.
Hey, one of the things that I want to also elevate that I think is worth good is just your evolution as a leader.
Yeah.
I know you graduated from Guilford. I believe it was a business.
Business and accounting.
Business and accounting. Played basketball, but there you are. And so, man, now, why don't you tell people, man, kind of what you're doing right now, and then I got a follow-up question just about leadership and even about ethnicity and race and culture. So go ahead.
Yeah, so right now I'm the Associate Region Director for Young Life in the Southeast region, which is all of Georgia and Alabama. I'm the only person of color with that role, not just in the region, but in the division, which covers, I believe, 10 states.
Yeah.
And so I get to supervise and help other area directors in different cities over Georgia and Alabama kind of develop their ministry and walk with people and kids and love on people well. So that's what my current role is.
And so, G, you and I have had good conversations, and part of our series here in Talking Good is we'll talk about some things that are uncomfortable. So as a leader, of color in an organization, how are you navigating that during this time when it's so easy to just walk away or be really angry?
Yeah.
So why don't you share how you're kind of navigating culture right now?
Yeah, I think the truth is I've had the thought. I've thought about walking away. I thought that it would be easier to kind of go back to, for lack of a better way to put it, black world, and surround myself with people of color who look like me, who think like me, who come from environments like me, and how much easier that would naturally be because you're around people who you kind of inherently fit with.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself that if I did that, though, would things ever change? Would the next person that came along as a person of color be put into the same situation, and then the situation would just repeat itself, and it would never look different? And so I made a commitment to not the organization, because I love Young Life, but I think Young Life is just a great platform.
Yep.
I made a commitment to myself and then who's ever coming next, that I want it to be different for them, that I want it to look different for them. And that means that I have to sit in the room sometimes and take some stuff and hear some things that I don't like and are uncomfortable, and be willing to sit into that moment, because I know that if I'm in that room, I can impact what it looks like. Maybe not today, but 3 years from now and 5 years from now. And so I'm willing to be that person that says, man, we can make this look different. And by being in that room, we've already started to see some things look different. We've already started being able to make some changes. The makeup of our region is 6% people of color out of 130 staff people. With all the things going on in the world right now, I was able to get our region to take 100 of our staff people to Montgomery, Alabama, to go to the Civil Rights Museum, to go to the memorial, and then have a really honest conversation around race, religion, and the impact that they play. And so I feel like we're in a position right now where we're at a tipping point.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm being very honest, I'm hopeful. But the other side of hope is very dangerous. Because now that we've had these meetings and these conversations, and I've expressed to you what this feels like and what it's been like to be a person of color in this ministry, I'm hopeful that it changes. But if it doesn't, if 12 months from now, if 18 months from now, things still look the same, well, then I might take my ball and go.
Yeah.
Because then it'll be, it's not that you don't know. It's you do know. Do you care enough to do something about it?
Yeah.
And so that's the scenario now. It's like, hey, man, you're in the game now.
Yeah.
Now I know you know.
Yeah.
Before you could have a kind of, I never knew. You can say that, ignorance could have been an excuse.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's really important that we support individuals like G. How do we leverage our resources, our knowledge to undergird leadership like G? I was over there when he was in Montgomery, and he was addressing a crowd by himself, and there was two emotions that came up to me. Great joy, and I was just so proud of him as he stood there and answered question after question after question after question. And then simultaneously, I was mad. I mean, I was so mad because he was up there by himself. And if change is gonna happen, and if the G's are gonna continue to press forward, it's imperative that those of us that have resources that are older support the G's, support individuals who are willing to hope, which is risky, but they can't take that step if they don't have the support. And so if you're older out there, man, let's leverage, let's get behind G's so that they can transform their families. So
Can
they
I say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're younger, you need to be able to follow the older generation, the people that were before you. And so for me, this is an easy dynamic because leadership to me isn't about the title. It's not about the position. It's about the person in the seat. It's about the character of the person that you're following. And I get to follow behind Korn and look at the leadership, look at the legacy, look at how Korn leads his family and loves his family well. And so for me, it's not the title, it's the person, right? Everybody's a leader. There's always somebody watching you.
Yeah.
I've got to watch Korn for 20 years. I've modeled a lot of my ministry and who I am after who this man is. And so I would encourage the younger folks who want to be in the seat, who want to push the ball forward, who dare to dream and dare to hope, find somebody like a Korn in your life to be that mentor, to be that person that you can look to as like, man, I want to be like that. And then be yourself in that process, but I want to be like that guy. So that's been a big thing for me, man.